Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy, Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. I appreciate all the views, comments, shares, and anything else. Now, that being said, I was at the Zhang Joyce 2 press conference a little bit earlier. Some interesting things to talk about there, so we'll get into that. But there was a main topic I guess I wanted to bring up, which took place a little earlier on in the week. I probably should address that. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So it was heavily reported earlier on in the week that Terence Crawford has demanded, or I guess enacted his part of the rematch clause with Errol Spence Jr., that the rematch itself will take place at £147 and not £154 as was originally speculated that would occur. Now, a lot of people saw this as a way for Terence Crawford almost to like have an unfair advantage over Errol Spence Jr. Oh, he's too big, he just can't make the weight, he's been killing himself to make the weight. Well, look, the guy's been a career 147 since I think his second or third fight. So if he was really struggling to make weight as such, like, there was ample time to move up before then. So I don't really view that as a credible excuse. However, there is a different thought, and I more subscribe to this thought as to why this potentially has happened. Number one, Terence is either, well, okay, I guess there's two thoughts. Number one, either Terence is just looking for more money. Say, well, look, this is going to be at 147. If Errol says, oh, I can't make the weight, well, that's what I've chosen. So you're either going to make that, or you're going to give me some more bread. You're going to break me off a bit more to do it at 154, because then that technically gives you the advantages. That would be the thought process. But outside of that, here is my reasoning as to why that's taken place, and I think a few other places have also got this train of thought. This is simply a case of Terence Crawford giving Errol Spence an easy way out of the rematch. Now, yeah, no doubt Errol, I believe, wanted the rematch, especially initially after the fight. But I guess when you think about it, it's like there's not really a huge amount you can do apart from be 7 pounds heavier, because the same mistakes that you made in the first fight, you're not just going to iron those out, especially not in 5 months after the beating that you took, whereby you're going to have to take some time off and rest and recuperate anyway. The extra 7 pounds ain't really going to help you. Outside of that, it's like a case to say, well, if you can't make the weight, then yeah, you exercise the rematch clause, but I can't make that weight and Terence ain't budging. Therefore, we just can't do the fight, because physically and, you know, even health-wise, I can no longer get down to that weight. Like, literally, that was the last time I would be able to do it. And then that's, you know, that's almost Terence Crawford giving Errol Spence like an easy way out of it without saying, oh yeah, I don't want to take the fight. And that almost feels a bit like bro code to a sense. It's like you know, you're giving someone a way to, you know, to get themselves out of a pretty sticky situation. And realistically, if you look at it, that's the best thing, because there's no way that the broadcaster is going to be that keen to pull it on. Let's bear in mind, this pay-per-view, if you believe all the numbers, did either between sort of 540,000 up to maybe 700,000 pay-per-view buyers, right? That isn't a big enough number to then say, well, if we do the rematch and we get a drop-off because of how one-sided it was, it then doesn't become viable, because I'm pretty sure there is set mandatory minimums that both guys demand in the rematch, especially maybe based off of what they had done in the original. So money wise, it's just not really an event that I think Showtime can afford to put on pay-per-view. I don't think they'll make their money back, and I think Terence also realizes that at this point that's not the financial play, and he already said he's about making his money now, because his legacy is secured, like, regardless. So yeah, I think that's his way of getting getting Errol Spence to, you know, giving him an out for the fight. Also, talking about that real quick, because there was a bit more that came out between sort of Terence Crawford a little bit earlier. Now, he said a lot of people basically say that I have never fought anyone, but if you look at the fight that I had with Errol Spence, who people claim is a somebody, and then look at the fights I had with these so-called nobodies, well, I actually had an easier fight with Errol than I had with those others. So are you really sure that they're nobodies, or are you now going to tell me that Errol's a nobody as well? And he said it really puts it into perspective when you dig it. Like, these nobodies gave me a tougher fight than the so-called best in the division that you guys claimed he was. And to me, that's, I mean, yo, what can you really say to that? Even if you say, oh, you know, the weight, whatever, well, the weight is only gonna be an issue, or should only be an issue, towards the back half of the fight. If you can't get your stamina and you're running on fumes and all that sort of stuff, it's like, well, no, they ain't supposed to affect you from round one. Because if you check it, even though you can technically say that Errol Spence won the first round just off activity, you could actually still make a case that Terence Crawford won the first round, because his shots were more accurate. Errol was busier, but Terence was still landing and hurting consistently in that first round. So it's just a case of, like, ultimately he just excelled in every facet. And for someone to then say, oh, well, you know, the other guys that he fought were nobodies, this is the only somebody that he's faced and beat. Well, if nobodies gave him a harder test, like, that's actually a damning indictment on the somebody. But yeah, ultimately, I don't think the rematch is going to take place now. And I think that basically Terence has just done, quote unquote, the classy thing to give Errol a way out of it without making him look bad. I know he wants to go straight into that supposed Canelo-Charlo winner match, but I don't think that will be the next one. I still think he's going to make a pit stop at 154 to try and collect a couple belts, and then possibly jump up to 168 for that September time bout between for the winner of that fight. But I could be wrong on that one. We'll wait and see. So Shakur Stevenson a couple of days back was on $1 Million Worth of Game, whereby he basically stated that, look, who am I to try and make offers to Tank Davis? Like, you know, in the grand scheme of things right now, like, I'm a nobody compared to him. Like, he's the guy, he's the biggest star in the division. Like, how can I make offers to him? So if that fight's ever going to happen, that's got to be on his part. You know, I'd love to fight him because I want to prove, you know, so people can see who I really am, and I feel like he's, you know, the sort of like the best out there, and me and him together will give me the credit and the legacy that I need. Now, recently, if you've heard Shakur talk about Tank over sort of the last few months, it's all been very nice, very cordial. And I think part of the reason he's doing that is almost to buddy to Tank, to try and lull him into a false sense of security, to make him a bit more willing to make that fight. Because apparently, if we go back to the whole Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. situation, Terence Crawford, rather than getting on the aggressive with Errol Spence over the last year, did the nicey thing and, you know, almost tried to run brain on him, in terms of trying to make that fight. You know, like, he got into his psyche, played to his ego, you know, sort of, and that was how he was able to get that fight over the line. Maybe, I know him and Shakur, really good friends. Maybe he's advised Shakur to go the same route to try and get that Tank fight down the line. But I did see Tank put out a tweet the other day, I don't know if it's still up there, where he basically said, yo, like, y'all please, like, stop calling my name. Like, I'm not with it, or whatever he said, something along those lines. I don't know if it's still up, because, you know, he likes to post and delete. But yeah, I think it was on the case of, like, it was almost one of those leave me alone, like, don't call my name kind of things. So we'll see if the tactic works ultimately. But yeah, I mean, look, like they say, however you gotta get it, right? So as long as you get it, I can't be mad at it. You know, I think me, like some other people, do prefer a bit more smoky energy, you know, like to try and play to someone's ego more so, or to maybe bruise their ego to see if that's a way to get them in the ring. But it clearly seems that in this day and age, like, you know, playing to someone's machismo doesn't really work as well as it used to back in the, you know, the early 2000s, 90s, etc. But if it works, good luck to him. So I hope that fight can kind of take place, but hey, we'll see. Okay, last but not least, so as I said, I was at the Zhang Joyce 2 press conference a little bit earlier on today. I was unable to get to speak to Joe Joyce. I know he done quite a bit of the big media, but I think he gets tired fairly easy, especially when the spotlight's on him. Now, he came into the press conference. Now, I remember I was actually standing next to G-Man and October Red when he stepped in, so big up to both of them. G-Man was the first time I met him in person. Real good guy. Obviously, I'm sure you guys know his channel, so make sure you sub. But as Joe Joyce walked in, the first thing he said is, geez, he looks huge. Now, we've obviously all seen him before. He's a big guy, he's a naturally big guy. But when I say he looked huge, we're not just talking about he's like, you know, chunky and just, you know, massive. There looked like there was a bit of a gut. When he took off his jacket, it didn't look as pronounced, but it looks like he's put on a lot of additional size for this fight. Now, obviously, you know, basis picks are going to be out tomorrow, so look out for that. I do have some interesting takes, and I actually made my prediction back on Wednesday because I'm a part of this this email league that I've told you guys about before. I had to make the prediction on Wednesday because there was fights that was on Wednesday, so I couldn't actually leave it until the weekend. That weigh-in will be very interesting. However, I did get an interview with Zhang, and I also got an interview with his trainer, Sean George. Big up to both of them, and I thank them for giving me some of their time. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just give you a little snippet of what I spoke about with both of them, and both of those interviews will be up on the Undefeated channels, Undefeated podcast channel, either by the time you watch this or tomorrow during the day. But yeah, take a look at a little bit of what I asked both, what they had to say, and then we'll come back at the end. Are you concerned that if this fight does go into the second half and possibly the stoppage doesn't happen, that there could be issues with scorecards, or is everything about, look, we're making sure it doesn't go that way and it is knockout or nothing?
你是觉得必须要击倒他吗？因为这个裁判的判罚会有问题，还是说你觉得如果打满了，你就会失去这个优势呢？
因为主场在英国，然后乔伊斯是英国人，然后裁判肯定会向着他，这就是他的主场优势。裁判会不自觉的就会向着他，所以说我不会把结果交给裁判，我会把结果牢牢的攥在自己手中，我来掌控结果。
As long as we fight in London, I believe that's the advantage Joe's gonna get all the time. So, like I said before, I will definitely control the fight with my own hand. I'm not going to leave it to the judges.
Are you worried about this fight going the distance? I know that that's not the game plan. That's never the game plan for heavyweights, but just due to maybe some questionable scorecards from the first fight, is that an issue whereby, you know, if it does start to go late and, you know, Joyce does throw more activity maybe than Zhang does, that may nick him some rounds? Is that a concern at all?
It's always a concern. Our team, Scott, Terry, Tommy, Kurt, we tried our best when it comes to the judges and the referees to get the right people in line. But like, it's just here in the UK, the judging is really hard. It's like I watch non-title fights here, I watch title fights here, and they always seem to go with the British guy, the UK guy, even if they lost. The scorecards is always bad, and that's not cool. You know, something needs to be done. You know, like, you have passionate fans here. I mean, loyal fans. I respect the hell out of that. Like, I walk through, I'm like, man, I wish it was like this in America. But so don't cheat them. Don't sell them bullshit. Excuse my French, but don't sell them BS. Gillet won the fight. The one judge had Gillet losing the fight on April 15th. The other two judges had Gillet winning by 1 point. That's crazy. Anybody watching the fight knows what happened. So that's my thoughts on that. Something needs to be done.
No, I do understand that.
He's not letting the moment get to him. We're focused. We are so focused on this fight. I can't tell you how much he wants this. He wants to be world champion. Joe Joyce is in his way, and that's what's happening right now.
Do you think this fight will be easier or harder than the first fight, in your opinion?
We train for a hard fight. We train for a rugged fight from round 1 to round 12. That's why you heard Gillet talk about his sparring partners. They was coming in and out. We going 14, 15 rounds. We're ready for this fight. I promise you we are ready for this fight.
So as you can see, they're not particularly looking to leave it in the judges' hands. They weren't too enthused with the, sort of the British judging system and the British referees. And yeah, they definitely are not looking to let this go the distance. They done it in the first fight. Can they do it again? Do I think they can do it again? Well, you have to wait for Basis Picks to get a definitive answer. But all I will say is they're very confident. They are very, very confident. Last time, I think people thought it was a bit of delusional confidence, or they're just kind of happy to be here type situation. No, they knew something that a lot of other people didn't, and it very much feels like they still have that same energy around them now. So yeah, look out for that. That should be very interesting. That being said, I'm gonna wrap it up there, and I'm gonna leave this one. I'll be back with Basis Picks. That'll be the next thing, and then possibly another episode on Saturday before the show starts. But thank you all very much for watching. I'm signing out, and yeah, that's me out.